yeah. All right, so you are at Crystal Palace now. How's it going?
Yes, really enjoying it. Really,
Yeah.
really enjoying it. It's been, I think it's been a new direction and a change that I needed. Really, I feel great. Feel back to my best and just really, really enjoying it. Good group, um, especially the GK Union. It's a really good group, good atmosphere of guys. Dino, goalie coach, is great as well, and there's a good little unit, and it makes it easy to be your best and enjoy it,
Mm.
and just kind of breeds greatness out of everyone, and you can push each other. So yeah, it's been a change that I really needed, one that I didn't necessarily envision a few years back. It was just, I think the last season at Stoke was probably the most difficult season of my career to date. And was just, yeah, just felt a bit bogged down really. And Gemma, I don't know if you ever felt this, but there was times where the ball would go in and you just go, Jack, that is so routine for you, and it wasn't a mistake. It was just like a mind block. It was like my body wasn't doing what my mind was telling it, and there was just this what felt like um, just a weight on my shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd never changed. In fact, I'd tried even harder physically, mentally. My efforts never changed, but I just felt in a real, just blocked.
A
Just
bit of a
felt
rut,
like I
yeah.
couldn't. Yeah, and it was difficult because through injuries and stuff, I'd never once ever felt like that.
Mm.
Because there's that light at the end of the tunnel, and there's a difference when it comes down to form. And it
Yeah.
was just like it couldn't quite see. And I think a large part was then trying too hard, and I was just compounding things. And lockdown came at a good time, the first one. I mean, the pandemic, of course not, but it came at a good time, and I just went away, and I came back from that, and just felt like it was months and months ago, and could just get back on with it again.
Mm.
And then I just tweaked my medial before coming back, and it was just like, and it really bothered me that it was like I was so keen to get back in and finish the end of that season so well. Um, and then I tweaked my medial and ended up playing through it strapped up. And it just really, I just couldn't for the life of me. Just didn't feel sharp, didn't feel um, like I was with it,
Mm.
and it was quite disheartening for a while because I was searching for that magical thing, and to say it was moving club that kind of did it. Um, I was lucky and fortunate in a way that there was, Palace believed in me, and look, we'd come on in, and within minutes of my first session, it was like I was the keeper I was 4 years ago,
Mm.
and it was eye opening for me because I couldn't, for the life of me, get there myself.
Right. I mean, what you're saying, Jack, because I don't know if you remember meeting me.
Yeah, City,
Yeah, I can't remember the actual location. For some reason, I've got
Ashton
Watford
Gate,
in there.
Ashton Gate. It was.
I was
I'm
actually
pretty
going.
sure it was
Okay.
Ashton Gate.
Yeah, I just
Um,
remember. I remember. Obviously, we had a chat, and I think you you were out because of your scaphoid. Is that right?
yeah, it
Did
might
that?
have been. It
Yeah,
might have
and
been. Yeah,
I talked to you about kicking.
yeah,
If you press your left foot and you did it, and you're on top of everything.
yeah,
And I was thinking, this lad, yeah, I like it. I like
yeah,
everything about it. Obviously, you're at Cheltenham at the time. Now, what you're talking about, and when you ask the question, maybe I've been there. When you, it seems like when you're that focused on improvement,
mm,
the only way that you see improvement is literally working.
yeah,
And it's
Mm.
like, if it's not right, work a little bit harder and it'll get better.
yeah,
And I think you mentioned Dino as your coach now. I don't know who you had at Stoke, but if the environment for your work isn't correct, and when I say that, not talking about the aesthetics of the training ground necessarily, but the people you're working with, if someone doesn't recognise that what you're doing is actually detrimental to your performance, you just carry on. And I've been in that position, and I was at Liverpool where it was kind of like, work harder. It's like, okay, great. Yeah. So you just work harder. You just do all these things, and you're thinking, I'm not getting any better, so I'll work a little bit harder. And then, like you said, I went to Aston Villa, and it was like, hang on a minute, the world is. I'm in a different world. You don't just leave a football club; you almost join a new world. And what you're describing sounds like that. And it's not disrespecting the people you're working with. I think the environment suits certain 100%. Character types. You are very analytical, from what I got when we first met. Very analytical, very capable, which is also handy. Conscious. Oh, how was it now? Conscious, competent. Yeah. So you know how good you can be.
Yeah.
Compared to just.
Yeah, and that was where I was going. It was, I think, what I had achieved prior. Both what I knew I could do and how much I believed in myself, and actually what other people believed in me as well. What I'd achieved at the club, my performances. It was like it's Jack, so Jack's going to be fine. Jack's done X, Y, and Z, so Jack's Jack. And then when Jack wasn't quite Jack, it was like people just expected me to be where I was, but actually, do you know what? I was struggling for form. It wasn't a 1-2 games. I'd never gone a game back to back and had mistakes, and I'd gone. It wasn't even the same thing. It was like wrong decision to come out. Then it was a technical handling error. Shouldn't have come for that cross, and then it was poor kick out that led to a goal. And it was like, hang on, this is not. He's clearly and. Looking back on it now, I wasn't not trying, or I wasn't not with it. I was not at my best. Leaving Stoke, was difficult, and I loved my time there. But you leave on a sad note because I wanted it to be a better ending than it was. But almost immediately, my whole feeling, and I felt 6 inches taller, and came through the door at Palace and just felt so full of energy, life, and ready to go. And and just felt like the keeper I was, 3, 4, felt like doing everything I did when I was at my best, and have done it through this period of time that I'm here. All that I'm lacking now is that opportunity to go and, do it on the pitch. But I certainly feel a million times better, which I regret I couldn't achieve before I left. But I'm extremely glad that I feel that way now.
It's interesting because what you're talking about is a side that most fans, and Smiv sat there listening, most fans don't appreciate it because and I'm obviously working on the other side now, in the TV side a lot. And you talk about players, and it's kind of like, he needs to improve his performances. He needs to do this, he needs to do that. And it's very difficult not to, actually, I try and do as much as I can, is to empathise with the player, because everything you're describing is what I went through. But for a fan who doesn't understand it, it's kind of like...
It's difficult.
Oh, he's gone, or he should do better, or especially with keepers, and we were talking about this before, about how, bottom hand, top hand saves and stuff. The way that the discourse around keepers is so bad.
Yeah.
And, Jack Butland is 27 years old.
Yeah.
27 years old.
Exactly. I've got so much time left as well.
Yeah, but for your career, it's amazing because, you're talking about when we were talking Bristol, it's 9 years ago. 9 years ago? 10 years ago, even. Whatever. 8 or 9 years ago, And it's kind of like, that's Jack Butland, okay. And then you've done so much already.
Yeah.
That when you put 27 years old on it, it's kind of like, hang on a minute, he's still very young.
Yeah.
Now, the beauty of it is, and I say through experience, having been through that process and coming out of it the other side, is that you carry on, you play it the way that you're capable, then people forget about it, or just as you say, it will be an experience that Jack Butland had on his rise through his career. But for fans, I say this is a point, the fans just go, he's gone. It's kind of,
they don't see it.
No,
I think we all look at we all look at you guys. I say you guys as professional footballers. I think we all forget that you're humans too, and you can make mistakes, and you do have faults and feelings as well. But I think a lot of people just look at it and go, these are superhuman guys they shouldn't make mistakes. They're not meant to. And you can't struggle with it. We don't care about what's going on behind the scenes. That's what goes on. But actually, it sounds like you did go through a bit of a rut.
When Michael O'Neill came in, he said, "Look, I want to get you back," and that meant a lot to me. He wants to get me back to where I belong. That was the conversation that we had, and I was going through a difficult time when he came in, so my confidence levels weren't great at that point. And then you fight, right? He's back to me, and I've got to show him. And it was just a season where every game up until then, every season, like for me, it was just I train, and then it comes to the Saturday, and I just do my thing because that's just what I love doing. I don't think I've always just been at my best when I'm just making decisions, because when you are at your sharpest and you are at your best, it just happens because you're there. You're not thinking about things too much. And I just think the whole season I was doing exactly that. And I know the manager did get the best of me, not because he didn't, but he didn't see the best of me. And people did expect, everyone expected, because of what I'd done prior, and the fans expected because that's what I'd done for the club. And in all credit to the fans, I got stick. Social media, I ended up coming way away from it because I was just at that point, I didn't need it. But the stick that I did get, was rightly so, because the points they were making were valid. I was making mistakes, etc. But in fairness, when it did become time to go, photographic memory and all that, those people are saying thank you and appreciate everything you've done. So nothing negative to say about the club at all. I was just in a rut, a real low of confidence, and wasn't at my best, and that just happened to be in my final season there. And I wish it was better. But people did expect, and that's what happens when you're playing well and you're at a club, if your performances are used to being so high, and you couple that with a difficult time that the club were in. As a club, we'd been relegated. We were hoping to bounce back up straight away. Didn't. Had multiple managers, multiple changes, and it was just a club that was just in a bit of, everything was just not quite where it needed to be. And that just happened to be when I had my slump as well. So it was just a cocktail of things that just weren't, it wasn't going to make a nice drink at the end of it. It was going to be minging, and it just happened to be that people expected so much of me. And, unfortunately I wasn't at my best when I needed it, but I'm glad to say now that they appear to have really steadied the ship, and I think it's taken 3 years to do that because of what the club had been through, and transfers and finances and stuff. It's a difficult thing to go through when you get relegated, but I'm glad to see that they've kind of steadied it now.